And I am live. Hi, my name is Tyriece Simon, writing solo for this recap show. And this is a PFL 5 recap of Roy McDonald versus Gleason Tebow being the main event. Other fighters on the card were Ray Cooper III versus, I'm going to butcher this name, I'm going to try, Nikolai Alkahin? Alkas, Nikolai's the name. We're going to go with Nikolai. First and foremost, I was gonna do the show on Saturday, which is why you guys know the alert. I was gonna notify you guys, but I had family things that I have to get. I have family obligations on Saturday, and so I just said, you know what, I got time right now. I'll do the show. Which for me, it's interesting because doing a recap show right after an event, I forget how tiring it is because you have to pay attention to all the little details, and you're also watching an event for however many hours. And the PFL started at 5:30, is now 11 o'clock. Well, no, 11:30 as of this recording. So watching a event from 5:30 to 11:30, basically, you're gonna get tired. You're watching a lot of fights, paying attention to a lot of details, listening to everything that's happening, keeping up with everything that's happening. Just not in the fight, but what's going on, the repercussions that come with the results of the fight. So it's a lot. It's a lot, and I remind myself why I love doing a show the day before. I know a lot of people like doing recap shows as the after the event, but it's just a way lot easier and way better to consume the day after, where you let your thoughts kind of come together and you get to reflect on certain things, or go back and watch certain things and stuff like that. So yeah, this to me, it may affect my grade a little bit in the moment of thinking what PFL was, but I'll try to keep it fair as much as I can. But yeah, before we get into the show, just announcement: we'll be doing a show on Sunday covering Korean Zombie versus Dan Ige event. Um, I'll see if I could try to watch the Anderson Silva boxing fight, which I did not know was happening this weekend. It was another boxing fight. Supposed to happen to have Vitor Belfort on the card. Vitor Belfort is now fighting Oscar De La Hoya on September 18th, I believe. So that's interesting. But yeah, we're gonna cover Danny Ige versus Korean Zombie, and if depending on what time that Anderson Silva fight happens, if it's the same time as UFC, I'm probably not watching the Anderson Silva thing. Um, but if it's after, maybe I'll put some money together and then I'll watch it. All right. So, and also, if you're watching, haven't done it already, subscribe, share, like. If you like what you hear, like what you see, please let us know in the comment section, and tell us anything you like to see going forward. If you want to see improvements, compliments, anything like that, anything you are critical of, please let us know. All right, so let's get down to it. So the PFL was held in, I believe, the eastern part, right? Yeah, Atlantic City, New Jersey, close to where I'm at, close to where Elijah's at. Uh, PFL was held in Atlantic City, New Jersey. I believe there's no fans allowed. Uh, the main events featured Gleason Tebow versus Roy McDonald in the welterweight contest. Ray Cooper III versus Nikolai. I'm not gonna say his last name because I'm gonna butcher it. And some other notable fighters on the card: Antonio Carlos Jr., former UFC fighter, Vinny Magalhaes, Chris Camozzi, Cesar Ferreira, um, a bunch of other Tom Lawler, which we'll talk about in a second. Curtis Millender. So there's a bunch of former UFC guys in on this card. And first and foremost, I want to say PFL has done a great job in structuring in this organization and tournament, and making it matter and bringing a big fight feel to it. Um, I think the production value, the production, well, yeah, production value, the production for the PFL this season has been spectacular. I've noticed they started using 8K cameras as well, which seems like everybody has 8K cameras. Um, they're trying their own thing with some stats and everything like that. So they're trying different things. They're being innovative. Um, the production is definitely gotten better and better year after year. We already talk about the fighters they have on their roster: Anthony Pettis, Clarence Shields, Kelly Harrison. Uh, so they're Clay Collard. So they're constantly growing, and it's good to see them slowly become in that and the rivals as one of the best MMA organizations in the sport. If that makes sense. I'm fucking tired. Anyway, so we'll start with the main event. Start from the top. Gleason Tibau defeats Roy McDonald by split decision. Now, I'm seeing a lot of people say that they were confused by this and that they don't believe that Gleason Tibau won. First and foremost, I forgot, or not I forgot. I was amazed by how jacked Gleason Tibau is. Like Gleason Tibau is huge. He's like 37 years old, and he looks better than he had when he was in the UFC a couple of years ago. Like I looked at his fights. I looked at his fight against Islam Makhachev. I looked at his fight, how he looked against Desmond Green. Um, and granted, those fights were at lightweight, and this is a welterweight fight. But regardless, Gleason Tibau at 37 years old looks freaking huge. And that was one of the things that stuck out to me in this fight, just how jacked Gleason Tibau was. This is supposed to be, Roy McDonald. I think they stated that Roy McDonald just had to, like and that's one of the things about the PFL tournament is that some of the rules and the way that if you are a fighter that is ahead in their scoring system, you are already guaranteed a playoff spot for the $1 million tournament. So you don't necessarily need to go out there and put a stamp on a fight or try to win the fight necessarily, or it gives you less of an urgency to get a finish or get a stoppage or really be active. But for people that are challengers that need those points to advance, they're more likely to try to do their best to get a point, obviously. So they let us know at the bat that Roy McDonald is clearly ahead in this playoff position. That a win or even a loss wasn't going to amount too much to him dropping out of playoffs. He was pretty much confirmed. Unless Gleason Tibau went in there and stopped them in I think the first round or so like that, but that wasn't gonna happen. But yeah, it was looking a little dicey for Roy McDonald a little bit early on. But nonetheless, Gleason Tibau defeats Roy McDonald by split decision. Some people feel like Roy McDonald clearly won the fight. Some people find the judges' scorecards ridiculous. Honestly, just from watching it again, watching PFL from 5:30 to 11:30. Especially after, I believe, before the Ray Cooper fight, the other fight before that, I found myself like paying attention, but even while watching this fight, I kind of thought that Gleason Tibau was giving the business to Roy McDonald. Roy McDonald was trying to take him down, had a hard time controlling him. He had one position where he did have his back, and he was looking for the rear naked choke, but he was able to get out of it. Gleason Tibau at times shucked Roy McDonald away from a takedown. I thought Gleason Tibau landed a couple big shots on Roy McDonald. Again, he was jacked. So like he was touching up Roy McDonald. You see some swelling on the face of Roy McDonald as well. So I would have to go back and watch this fight, but just in my mind right now, I felt like it's like a split decision win for Gleason Tibau is not that controversial. Considering the punches that were landed by Gleason Tibau, considering the stuffed attempts from takedowns from Roy McDonald, Gleason Tibau was able to shut Roy McDonald away on several occasions, and I can't really think of anything in this fight that said, okay, wow, Roy McDonald's clearly won that round. I can't think of anything. And it's just me fresh off of just watching it. I can't think of any moments in the fight where I thought, okay, Roy McDonald clearly winning this, or this round is clearly for Roy McDonald. I felt it was a very close fight. I felt like I mean, for judges, sometimes it can be controversial, but this one I was like, you know what? It's such it's an even fight to me, and I can see why they'll give it to Gleison Tebow. Gleison Tebow did land a couple of big shots on Roy McDonald. Roy McDonald um, wasn't able to secure a takedown or advanced positions from takedown. So I could definitely see why in that fight Gleison Tebow won the fight. So Gleison Tebow beats Roy McDonald, but it doesn't matter because Roy McDonald's already already solidified himself in the playoffs. So he's going to fight Ray Cooper, uh, which is interesting, which is the theme of this card, is the fact that the playoff system the PFL has is great. It is great. It creates entertainment, creates a big fight, like I said before. But at the same time, there are dumb things that not dumb things. That's probably the wrong word, but there are questionable things that happens in this tournament. Like, for instance, Gleison Tebow beats Roy McDonald, split decision. That's whoever controversy you see, it did happen. So Roy McDonald, even though he lost, moves ahead into the tournament. Gleison Tebow is now out of the tournament, uh, and that's that. Which to me is BS a little bit, because if you're Roy McDonald and you lost, how does he Roy McDonald then? How do you then what's the right word? How do you accept basically? How do you accept Roy McDonald moving to the playoffs while Gleison Tebow we see Gleison Tebow beat Roy McDonald? You know what I mean? Like how does that make sense? Maybe there should be some type of tiebreaker. Maybe you should do a rematch where Gleison Tebow fight. Oh, well, the winner, the loser, even though he lost, but may have enough points to go into the playoffs. Maybe he has to rematch the guy he lost to in order to solidify himself in the playoffs. Or if that person beats him again in the rematch, then that person will move on to the tournament and take his spot. You know what I mean? Like Roy McDonald losing by split decision, even though it's controversial or whatever, and then going to the playoffs anyway, kind of defeats the purpose. It kind of makes what you watch meaningless, because we're not going to see a rematch between those two. Gleison Tebow or Roy McDonald Gleison Tebow is out of the tournament. Roy McDonald moves on. He's going to get his $1 million, but he lost. So like that doesn't make sense, and that's where the tournament aspect of the PFL kind of fails at times, because the wins and losses can be meaningless depending on the point system. So that was one of the big things I thought was glaring. Just the point system and just wins and losses, and how sometimes wins and losses really don't matter, or sometimes the way you lose or win doesn't really matter. So yeah, that was Gleison Tebow versus Roy McDonald. Again, in my mind, I think Gleison Tebow won the fight, and I think I could see why the judges will give it to Gleison Tebow. It was a close fight, but I would say Gleison Tebow won. But doesn't matter because Gleison Tebow's not moving on to the playoffs. Roy McDonald is. So Roy McDonald's going to face, I believe, Ray Cooper III, which we could segue right into Ray Cooper III. Ray Cooper III beats Nikolai by unanimous decision. Again, this is the fight where pretty wild at times. But I can see Ray Cooper winning 3 rounds unanimously. That fight should be interesting between Roy McDonald and Ray Cooper III. Roy McDonald did get touched up a little bit in this Gleison Tebow fight. Oh, that's not a lot, but he did get touched up significantly. Like he was getting tagged a little bit by Gleison Tebow. Gleison Tebow was a stronger guy. So I wonder how Roy McDonald deals with the power of a Ray Cooper III. I think that's interesting. Because Roy McDonald, we I think we've talked about in the past, me and Elijah, just how the wars that Roy McDonald has been in, the fights that Roy McDonald has been, the toll that may have been taken on his body. Can Roy McDonald still deal with those shots and still react well to hard punches like a Ray Cooper, hard punchers like a Ray Cooper, And just how would he deal with that? You talk about his nose and how he's gone through nose surgery before, time and time again. Um, he's also had a stint where he wasn't sure he wants to fight. Now I think that's clear. He wants to fight. He wants to get this $1 million. But it is going to be interesting to see how he deals with a power puncher, especially which we've seen in this fight. Roy McDonald can get touched up, and Ray Cooper III is the wrong person to get touched up against. If that makes sense. So yeah, Roy Cooper III beats Nikolai by unanimous decision. He moves on to fight Roy McDonald. The next fight was Emiliano Sordi versus Dan Spalding. Ends in a draw. I believe Emiliano Sordi landed some shots to the back of the head early on to Dan Spahn that resulted in him losing a point in the fight. So that fight became even, and I believe they scored the second round for Sporty, and then the third round for Spahn. Pretty good fight. I think both of them were tired from beating the crap out of each other. A bunch of Spawn took a lot of heavy damage. Like in the first round, I believe Sporty landed or tried to land almost 200 strikes, and I believe he landed maybe about some ridiculous number like 180 or whatever in the first round. So that was ridiculous amount of punishment he took on, but he was able to survive. He was able to come on strong in the later part of the fights. It really made it a dogfight. I think one thing I loved about Spawn was he landed some great knees in the clinch, where he grabbed them in the Muay Thai clinch, the palm, and just started blasting with knees, what I thought was great. It was a really entertaining fight. It was a really good fight. Definitely a fight I would recommend to somebody to go back and watch on this card. It was really entertaining. Spawn showed a lot of heart, and Spotty, I mean, for him to throw that amount of strikes in the first round is ridiculous for a light heavyweight. So that was interesting to see, and he is somebody that I'm looking out for in the future. Definitely, I felt like fatigue played in a little bit, but both guys showed a lot of heart, endurance, and the ability to keep fighting after taking big shots. Both of them landed and took big shots. So it was a good fight. I definitely, if Elijah was here, I would definitely recommend him or you guys to watch that fight again. It was a really good fight. Other fights on the card, I thought it was interesting. Chris Camozzi beat Cesar Ferreira. Chris Camozzi pretty much controlled and dominated Cesar Ferreira for the most part. I thought the Chris Camozzi really came on strong. I think where he started, picking apart with a jab. I believe there was a moment where Chris Camozzi is popping his jab, trying to land a clean shot. He hits him with a right. No, he ducks a punch. He ducks a left. Hits Ferreira with a right. Then no, I'm getting all fucked up. No, he landed a right hook to the body. Then he ducked the right hand from Ferreira. Then he hit him with a right hand. He retaliated with a right hand. Then Ferreira tried to throw a right hand, and then Chris Camozzi came over with the left, and that dropped him. I think I had the sequence right. It was a right to the body by Chris Camozzi, then a right jab, then he ended up with a left hook, I believe to the left side to the right side. Sorry. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. But no, nonetheless, Chris Camozzi landed a left that dropped Ferreira, and from there it pretty much just was all Camozzi. Really showcases striking, really showcases grappling. And to his credit, he was not out of the fight. He stayed in there, even though he looked like he was tired, even though he looked like he may not have been in the best of shape for this fight. Had a late flurry at the end of the fight, led a great uppercut against Kamosi. So it was a good fight. It was a good fight, but Kamosi wins that fight. Um, Other fight on the card was Antonio Carlos Jr. versus Benny Magalhaes. This fight ended in no contest due to a groin strike. I thought Antonio Carlos Jr. looked good, but again, those accidental groin strikes, um, resulted in a no contest. Hopefully, Benny Magalhaes is okay. The doctors came in at one point like he was throwing up in a bucket. So hopefully, Benny Magalhaes is okay. What other fights on the card? What fights on the card? Corey Hendricks. Corey Hendricks defeat. This is probably the fight of the night. Corey Hendricks defeats Martin Hamlet Nielsen by rear naked choke. Now, Hamlet was winning this fight. He was winning the fight round one. He was definitely winning the fight round two. Hamlet. I mean, no. Hendricks really needed to finish to move on and try to get into the playoffs, and this is another reason why these playoffs are interesting. So he was trying to, as you watch the fight, you see Hamlet get more and more fatigued from the grappling. He landed 4 takedowns. Most of the fight was from the clinch of Hamlet clinching up Hendricks against the cage. It's grueling. It's tiring. Hamlet's carrying a lot of muscle, which Hamlet looked impressive, just physically wise, but carrying a lot of muscle. And you seen like once the referee decided to let, somebody talking background, but once the referee was able to finally have them disengage in the clinch because there weren't enough action, then you see Hendricks let his hands go. And then you really seen a leg kick that buckled Hamlet, and then from there, Hendricks was able to take his back and then slowly but surely get the rear naked choke win, which again was a comeback. I don't know if I want to call it a comeback because he wasn't like he was. It was a complete just domination. It was a lot of clinch work, a lot of control. But I wouldn't say it was just he was just battering him or just dominating him. It was pretty much Hamlet had early success early on in the first round, and then from there was just trying to control and trying to just hold on and just get the win. Again, because Hamlet already secured himself to move on to the playoffs, I believe. Um, I believe if even if he didn't have to go out and go out there and finish, if he won in points, then he would have won the fight. Oh, he would have won the fight. He would have moved on to the playoffs. He didn't need to win in spectacular fashion. A decision could have just secured him to move on to the playoffs, and that would have been that. But Hendricks is able to get the rear naked choke, get the upset win, and defeats Hamlet, which would have set him into the playoffs. But if I'm not mistaken, he lost out of the playoffs to, I believe Emilio Sordi, because Emilio Sordi. Wait, is Emilio Sordi? Is Emilio Sordi? Because of the fact of Emilio Sordi had more activity, and Hendricks had one less fight in the PFL this season than Sordi did. So Sordi advances, which again, that doesn't make sense compared to one fight ended in a draw, the other fight ended with a rear naked choke. And that's one of those things again where you have wins like that where one guy clearly won decisively, the other one won by a draw. Lost a point in the first round to the back of the head was a violation. And then, that was a back and forth fight. And in the draw, he may have lost the third round. One would think, you know what? Let's do a tiebreaker. Let's have, Sordi versus Hendricks, and that would determine who moves on to the next round. But alas, Sordi is going to move on to the next round. Hendricks is out. And yeah, it's one of those things where I wonder if the PFL looks at this and then decides in the future, hey, maybe we could improve on this. Maybe, if a person is coming off a lost their fight, maybe they have to fight the loser. I mean, the winner in order to secure their spot instead of just win or lose, you're in, or I don't have to have an impressive performance in order to move on to the next round. Maybe that will incentivize them to no, I gotta go out there and win regardless, or for the person that wins, gives them more of an incentive to what now I could win. If I beat the person once, I could beat them again, and then I can get into the playoffs for $1 million. Uh, so just stuff like that, and for Hendricks, man. I came because I had one less fight in the PFL. I now can't challenge uh or move on in the tournament. But yeah, I had the more impressive win, and this guy uh had a violation, and for lack of better purposes, he he didn't have a good performance, and I think I should move on. I think the PFL should look at that and say, you know what, maybe we should do a tiebreaker fights to move on. Maybe we should do you know, a last chance thing where you can the winner can get a rematch and fight the guy or the person that may not have the points, may not have had as much fights, but has the points, has the wins. Maybe he should fight the guy that's ranked at the lowest and fight to get in. Those are the things I'm thinking about. But no, Sorty is going to the playoffs. Hendricks is out, and that brings me to another fighter Joe Zivarino beats Joseph Poignette by arm triangle. That was a good performance from Joe Zervino. Jason Poignette looked like he had him hurt early on, but Zervino was able to withstand and show his endurance. Was able to get the win. Curtis Millender looked good early on, and as again Curtis Millender, I think he has lost. No, he lost to Roy McDonald before. Now he lost to Magomed Kermov. He's lost to Sabai Hamasi in Bellator. His last win was against Moses Murata, but he's lost to Bilal Muhammad before that. He's lost to Ilizu Zaleski. He's somebody that has started out with a lot of people were looking at him as a good contender in the UFC, and he some bad luck, some bad losses, and he found himself out of the UFC, and he went to Bellator. Bellator didn't work out all that well. Now he's in PFL, and he loses 2 back-to-back losses to Roy McDonald and to Magomed. Again, these names, man. I try. I try. Magomed Mogomedkermov. I think I got that right. I think I got it right. But nonetheless, I butcher names sometimes. I'm sorry. Curtis Millender is having a rough go in PFL, and I wonder where he goes from here in his career. I think he falls to 18-8. But Magomed is really, really good. Really, really good. That wins with an Ezekiel choke. After Curtis Millender hurt his leg early on, he's able to catch a flying knee attempt from Curtis Millender to take him down with a double leg and then go for the Ezekiel choke for a win. Sadaboy Sai beats Alexei Konchenko. Good fight. Sabado hurt him on early on, but he was able to get it. Alexei was able to withstand, but he loses to a clear decision for Sabado. Now, I think the bigger story out of this whole entire thing was Tom Lawler beating Jordan Young by unanimous decision. Clear decision, not controversial. Tom Lawler looked really, really good. See somebody make something to eat in the kitchen. But Tom Lawler really good. Controlled him. Almost had him in an arm triangle twice in the fight. I think in the second round and I believe in the third round. Good on the feet too. Touched him up on the feet too. And Tom Lawler took his gloves off at the end of the fight, and I believe he's officially called it a career in the MMA. I know Tom Lawler is in pro wrestling. He is signed, I believe MLW. He's with MLW, Major League Wrestling. He's with New Japan. We'll see where else he's wrestling at. But yeah, Tom Lawler decides to call it a career and gets his first win since 2015. And what a way to go out! Wins his fight. Could have moved on to the playoffs, but right person wins. Hendricks knocked him out, and then what's his name? Got a draw. I'm blanking on his name. That's a Sorty wins by, gets a draw, and then so he goes to playoffs. So Tom Lawler out. I thought he had a great performance. I think once he realized he wasn't going to move on to the playoffs, that was just it, and end with a bang, end with a win, and call it a career, which is the right way to do. He has a lot of things going on. Again, he has pro wrestling going on. New Japan, Major League Wrestling, which are great wrestling organizations. So good for him, man. Good for him. He's one of the people that was able to find a way past MMA and was able to, find a different route, and has now become a bigger name, I would think, in a different space. Tom Lawler, I think, is a bigger star in pro wrestling than he is or was in MMA. And that's not to discredit him as an MMA fighter, because he had a bunch of great highlights in his career, a great personality. But I think right now in pro wrestling, I think he has a chance to have not only a resurgence in just his fandom, but I think he really excels. If you were able to go on YouTube and watch some of his matches, or check out those organizations, you would be impressed with how Tom Lawler is. And this is from somebody that watches wrestling. He's really, really good. So good on him. Good way to go out, and what a great career. What a great career. End with a bang. Now a lot of people able to do that. Some fighters keep going and going and going and going and going. Even though they get the win, they keep going and going and going until somebody has to yank the rug from underneath them. But Tom Lawler goes out his own way, wins in impressive fashion, and that's it. So good for Tom Lawler. But yeah, that's PFL 5. I am super tired. I hope you guys were able to enjoy this. Then yeah, if I was to give it a grade off the top of my head right now, I would give it a solid B. I'll give it a solid B. To be fair, I'll give it a solid B. There were some entertaining fights. Again, watching a card from 5:30 to 11:30 does skew your judgment a little bit, but there was some entertaining fights. Definitely some fights I would recommend. Definitely the Hendricks versus the Hamlet one for sure. Definitely something you should go back to and watch. The Sabado had a great performance. He looked really, really good. Tom Lawler, his last fight. Chris Cremose versus Cesar Vieira was a good one. Even the draw, Milano Sorty versus Dan Spawn. I thought that was a good fight. So there's some good fights on there. Definitely a solid card. And yeah, there's definitely a performance I will go back to it and recommend to people. So yeah, I definitely recommend, if you have something to do, you don't have something to do, put this card on. I think you'll enjoy yourself. So solid B. So that is it. I want to take my ass to sleep. I will be back on Sunday with Elijah to cover again Danny versus Korean Zombie. And yeah, that's That should be fun. We'll talk MMA news that happens. If anything happens, it's been a slow news week. I know one is Max Holloway not being able to fight yet Rodriguez, which sucks. Um, they gotta find a replacement for that card. And yeah, yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what other news comes out. Um, so yeah, signing off. My name is Tyriece Simon. Hopefully, you guys have a good day, a good evening, a good afternoon, and I will see you guys on Sunday.